Welcome to the channel. The confession that I have is that I killed my grandmother. Or maybe you should say I participated in my grandmother's demise. Yes, I did. I killed my grandmother with medicine. Something you may be actually taking now, for all you know. But hear me out before you are quick to judge. I can almost guarantee that you may be doing the same, to your loved one or even to yourself. Let me just tell you about the story and why I feel responsible for her demise. I grew up with my paternal grandmother in an African home. She gave me all the confidence, the self-confidence that I needed. I would face a doorknob, a jammed doorknob, and she would make a big deal out of it when my father came to visit. She would emphasize every little thing that I did right to my dad, making me feel like I'm the best. Basically, she gave me all the confidence that I think I have today. And that is why I feel sad that I participated in her death. I was a very obedient kid. I did everything that I was told without asking questions. And that is what happens in most homes like that. But note how this played into how I actually think I was involved in her demise. Now, let me tell you about what actually happened. First of all, my grandmother had arthritis. She had painful and inflamed joints that made her less mobile. She could barely move around. And that was made even worse due to her high weight. I think at that time she probably weighed over 300 pounds. Also, my grandmother had high blood pressure, or what we call hypertension. She needed pain medicine every day just so that she could move around and take care of us. And this is where I came in. She asked me, the beloved grandson, to get her some OTC medications, from the drugstore for her painful arthritis. She said the name of the drug so well that even now I could still hear the name sounding in my ears. I can remember it perfectly. And I'll tell you the name. It was a drug called Indocin. Well, she called it Indocid. There's a brand name Indocin, and the generic name is Indomedicine. I would go to the drugstore and buy her this medication all the time. In fact, almost every other day, just so she could deal with her arthritis pain. Yes, and that is what I used basically to kill her. Her blood pressure went through the roof with this medication, and I'll explain further as we go down. I'm not sure if she actually even knew, she potentially may have bleeds, GI bleeds or rectal bleeds as part of the side effects of this medication. She passed away a few years later from complications of high blood pressure while I was in college. Sad thing is, while I was actually learning about these medications, I unknowingly participated in her death. Never asked my grandmother nor the pharmacist where I had those medications purchased for her. Whether it was about the side effects or how long my grandmother was supposed to be taking it. I just went and bought it all the time for her. And look, I'm not blaming the drug. I blame myself for not asking those questions, especially the most important question. For how long, Grandma? How long are you going to be on this? I didn't ask that. And many people are taking similar drugs in this class called NSAIDs, NSAIDs or NSAIDs, for longer periods, for similar issues, arthritis, pain here, pain there, that my grandmother also had. They never asked their pharmacist or even their doctor for how long they're supposed to be taking these medications, or even what the side effects are, and how to better even take this medication for whatever pain they are trying to treat. While it is too late to help my grandmother on this, I can help you who is watching right now answer some of the questions on NSAIDs. I can do some even now. Let's take a look. Or you can even book a call, for an in-depth counseling on your medications if you so choose. I'll put a QR code on the screen which you can scan, book a call. But before we answer the the last question on why I unknowingly participated in my grandmother's death, let's talk about the drug I used, the NSAID I just mentioned briefly. NSAIDs basically stand for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. And I'm going to go through a few common ones that you may have come across, whether on your shelf, on the drugstore shelf, or potentially even by prescription. And the first one, most common one I think right now, especially in the US, is what we call ibuprofen, with brand names as Advil or Motrin. The second one is aspirin. Aspirin is actually the first NSAID. And we have Bayer aspirin or Bufferin. If you're in a different country, you may probably have a different name for it. But aspirin is so common that you probably know what I'm talking about. The other one is naproxen. And then naproxen also comes under a brand name called Aleve. There's also another one we call diclofenac, also under brand names such as Voltaren or Cataflam. And then the mighty medicine that I used in my grandmother's case, also called Indocin. There's celecoxib, also under a brand name called Celebrex. There's also meloxicam, under a brand name called Mobic. There's ketorolac, under brand name Toradol. And there's another one called Etodolac, also with a brand name Lodine. Now there's another one called Piroxicam, also called Feldine. Now some of these may have been discontinued. In the US, I don't see Piroxicam anymore, or it's discontinued. But it is still available in some countries under name either Piroxicam or Feldine, or any other brand names that you may have. And then there's an 11th one called Sulindac, which is also under brand name Clenorel. There's another one, believe it or not, there's a lot of them. There's oxyproxin, also called Dapro. There's another one called phenoprofen, Nalfen. This one is also not on the US market, but it's in other places. There's ketoprofen, or Uridis, or Uruvel. And then there's flurbiprofen, also called NSAID. There's another one which is also fairly common in the US and fairly prescribed, also called Nebumetone or Relafan. There's another one called Diflunicel or Dolabid, and countless. There's a Talmitin. I just want to go through these because you may not be familiar with the ones I've mentioned. In your area, you may have different ones. So let me just go through them. Talmitin or Talictin. There's another one called Meclofenamide or Meclomen. And I think the 20th one I'll call is Salsilic, also called Disalcid. So although these NSAIDs are effective in treating pain and inflammation, if you have long-standing arthritis, chances are that you may have been prescribed one of these or even be told to pick them up on the over-the-counter shelf. They are effective for treating pain, inflammation, and fever. But they come with various potential side effects, some of which I think escalated my grandmother's problems and led to her death. So let's talk about some of the common side effects. And now you understand why I say that I am partly to blame, because I just bought that for my grandmother without questions asked. So the first one is gastrointestinal issues, abdominal issues, GI side effects like stomach irritation. They can also cause, by stomach irritation, they cause discomfort when you take them. They can also cause ulcers when you use them long term. I'm talking about real ulcers, stomach ulcers, duodenal ulcers, and the rest. Another gastrointestinal issue is bleeding. These drugs can lead to bleeding, especially if you have had a bleeding in the past, like you have had GI bleeds. You already in the past, you had rectal bleeds, you had, some other form of bleeds. If you are on these medications, it will either bring them back on or make them worse. It can lead to vomiting of blood due to irritation or even due to those ulcers getting worse. There's yet another group of side effects with these medications: cardiovascular or heart disease, heart problems. which include increased blood pressure, which is, I think, where my grandmother's issue was, because she had high blood pressure, and she was daily sending me, to buy Indosit for him. And it can raise your blood pressure to levels depending on where your pressure is already at. If you're already on a borderline, you can just be thrown into real hypertension. If you're hypertensive and you're having difficulty controlling it, it can make it even worse and harder for you to control it, even with medications. Yes, and it's actually known to also be involved in heart attack and stroke if you use them long enough. As a matter of fact, in the US, some drugs relating or belonging to this class of medications called NSAIDs were discontinued. Virus was found to be increasing people's incidence of getting heart attack, and virus was discontinued. Now, these NSAIDs, including the one my grandmother was taking, also are known to cause kidney issues. They reduce blood flow to the kidneys, leading to kidney damage or even worsening of pre-existing kidney conditions. And the other thing they do is they lead to fluid retention, which is one of the ways they cause blood pressure to be worse. They can lead to swelling also, weight gain. They make you hold sodium, as a matter of fact. And as you hold sodium, you retain fluid and your blood pressure goes up. So the other side effect, which is also worth mentioning, is liver damage. They can lead to liver toxicities if taken on a higher dose and also for prolonged periods, especially one that is known for this is diclofenac. But that's not all. Another risk that we can also talk about associated with these NSAIDs is the risk of miscarriage. If you are pregnant and you do take these NSAIDs, this group of medications, your chances of miscarrying are high. Why do I blame myself? This is where I want you to pay particular attention, because I'm pretty sure that you may say that, oh, you shouldn't take the blame. It wasn't your fault. You were a kid. But this is where it gets a little tricky. Well, I could have done certain things different, right? Yeah, you may ask, what could you have done? What about if I had potentially asked the pharmacist a question about it, or even my grandmother? What about if I had asked her or refused to buy? I could have potentially said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not buying it. I don't know what's up with it. No, I'm not buying it. Some people are just taking things that they don't have no clue why they are taking them. And there's no question as to why. Or you may be taking care of somebody. And in your case, it may even be something that is addictive. This person is hooked. It may be tramadol, it may be oxycodone, it may be oxycontin. And you can tell that this family member you are helping is basically hooked. They have become dependent on it. And instead of helping them to overcome their dependence, which we could also say their addiction to that medication, you are just continuing to supply them the medication. So if something happens to them from their dependence, if something really bad happens, wouldn't you be partly responsible? Yeah, you could say that, well, they are the ones that made me fill the prescription. They are the ones that take the medication. They could have said they didn't want it. I was just helping them out. Yeah, true. But what if you could also take an action that would eventually lead them to stop it, the medication, which they are not really taking for pain. They are hooked. You could do something else about it, but you feel like you're just helping them with their dependence on it, right? You probably haven't thought that you have a role to play, but as long as you have a role in getting them the medication, you definitely would have a role to play if something happens to them based on what they are taking that you are helping them to get. Now, hear me out. I don't want you to go pointing fingers on at people or even yourself now. The whole point of this video is to see how we individually can, retake stock of what we are doing and see what else we can do if there are options to prevent certain, bad things from happening. If we have the control, if we have the right questions, if we have the right, approach, maybe we can help someone stop their dependence on a drug, or we can help someone protect and prevent somebody from, last in my grandmother's case, taking certain things that actually made her situation worse. We could do that. But until we assess our own part that we are playing, we wouldn't do it. And before you know, something bad may have happened or may happen. So yeah, I should have asked my grandmother when she's going to stop the indocin or the medicine. I could have said, Grandma, you always send me to buy this medication. Ain't you tired of this? You should probably stop. Right? I should probably have said that. But I didn't do that. I should have said, Grandma, why are you taking this? What are you taking it for? Don't you think it's too much? Maybe that would have made her talk to her doctor about it. Like she's been needing this. I could have done that. But I did not. Or better yet, I could have talked to the pharmacist who always was giving it to me nicely to give to my grandmother. Could have asked them what are some of the side effects of taking this medication and when should my grandmother stop. But I did not. I did not. Typically, pain medications are supposed to be taken for 7 days. We're talking about acute pain. 7 days, sometimes 3 days, tops 14 days, you should stop your pain medication. When you need more than 7 days or more than 14 days, we're talking about cancer pain or some other kind of pain that cannot be relieved within those days. But in that case, that is when you work with your provider to sort of find alternatives that may not necessarily be medicinal, but other ways, just so that you don't prolong the harmful side effects of these pain medications, and especially also for people who become dependent on these medications. So, what are some of the things that could be done in this regard? Yeah, we were talking about my grandmother who had obesity. She was obese, right? She could have lost the weight. Of course, being that grandkid couldn't have told her to do that. But if you are watching, that's an option. You're taking pain for your back, and your provider, your caregiver has told you that if you lost 50 pounds, kind of high, right? If you lost 30 pounds, still high for some people. If you lost 10 pounds, that pain may not be as bad because the pain, maybe you have a very big bust. As a lady, your bust is so big and it's putting an enormous pain in your back. Maybe you could consider breast reduction surgery, or even sometimes regular weight loss, which will lose a lot of the fat around the body, can reduce the strain on your back such that your back pain may go down a little bit. So these are all these options for taking care of your pain. So natural pain relief, So that's just one. This maybe pain, weight loss. And for some people with their knees, aside the fact that rheumatoid arthritis may be acting and bringing the pain and inflammation, losing weight, may sort of relieve some of the pressure on the knees or your joints, I should say. And that may not make you need as many pain medications as you are taking now. So there are several ways you can treat pain. This video is not for that, but I just want to say that there are options. We had options. Myself and my grandmother, we had the options, but we just didn't do anything. We just stuck to that one medicine, not knowing the danger that was associated, especially because she already had hypertension and it was raising up her blood pressure. Her weight continued to be higher because the drug was making her withhold sodium and withhold water. So she began a little bit bigger and got worse because the drug was putting up more weight on her too, because she was retaining all this water and also her blood pressure getting worse. We could do plant-based diet. Some pain can just go away just by stopping the red meat. Believe it or not, some pain control can come just by exercising, stretching, joining some kind of a club where you are a little active. Or even yet, if those things don't work, switching medications to less harmful, I should say, medications like acetaminophen or paracetamol or Tylenol, depending on where you're watching this from, or even better yet, topical pain creams such as lidocaine cream or gel, you know, or these menthol ointments and these balms that help. Some joint pain may just need that. Yeah, you could say it maybe absorb little absorption from them to your bloodstream compared to when you take them by mouth. Raising your blood pressure wouldn't be an issue in that case, unless you actually do it so much. I mean, there's not enough to go in your blood to raise your blood pressure. So those are other options for pain control that we could have considered that we did not. But I bet you she did not ask her pharmacist. She did not ask her doctor. She just chose. Potentially somebody recommending to her that in the medicine is good for arthritis pain. And yes, it is. But the sad part is it also did something worse. So as long as your doctor agrees, acetaminophen and some of these topical gels may actually help. And yes, I know that if you take too much acetaminophen, that could also be a problem, especially if you have liver issues. But if you are working with a healthcare provider or a pharmacist, they can tell you how much you need to take to ensure that it doesn't affect your kidneys or your liver for that matter. Unless, even if you have an underlying liver disease or kidney disease, if you have to take that, we can reduce the dose and ensure that it doesn't get worse. Rather than to take something that can affect your liver and your kidneys and also shoot up your blood pressure at the same time, potentially get you an ulcer, right? But none of these were considered by us. I didn't do that. I didn't talk to the pharmacist. My mother, grandmother did not. But ignorance is no excuse. The fact that you didn't know or I didn't know is no excuse. That's why I still blame myself. We could have definitely asked. That is where the story of why I think I am involved comes in. Now, the question that I have to ask, let me ask you, you probably are also involved in something right now. What are you taking as we speak? Is your doctor aware about the herbals that you're taking as we speak? Or even the supplements that you take? Is your doctor aware? Have you made a list and given it to them, or even your pharmacist? Do they know? Did somebody just tell you about them, how it helped them, and you just started taking them? Nobody knows about them. You are involved in also doing distraction, either to yourself or to the people you are taking care of. Do you know they may be raising your blood pressure, whatever you're taking? Do you know how they work on your kidneys and your liver? I know of somebody, a friend, who nearly touched his kidneys after taking some herbal concoctions that was sent him from abroad. The people told him that this is what it is for. You know how some herbal concoctions are, as far as dosing is concerned, everybody takes the same dose, whether you are big or small. Just shake it, 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons, and that's it. So no matter how good they may be, even anecdotally, they could still be harmful because you are not taking them per what your body needs. Because you may be skinny, you may be big, and everybody is different. Unlike conventional medicine where studies are done and we know that at this weight, you take this or you start this medication. You say you take amlodipine. We know you start from 2.5 or you start from 5, and then you gradually, as your pressure is, checked, we may increase it to 10 milligrams. For herbal medicines, it's not like that. Take this and take this. That's it. And the sad thing is some of them don't even check for results. Like, I'm not putting down herbal medicine. It's good when it is, completely monitored. If you are checking your blood pressure when you're taking your herbal medicine for hypertension, and you are taking also a stock of what it is doing to your kidneys and your liver, you're doing those tests, then potentially you are actually monitoring for any unwanted side effects. But if you are just taking something because somebody said it's good, anecdotally, somebody took it and they got better, you may be doing the same thing that I did with my grandmother that led her to her early death. My grandmother's case has actually taught me to believe in safe medication use and a comprehensive approach to health and healing. I don't want you to have the impression that I don't believe in medicine. That's what I do. So I am in full support of conventional medicine. What I actually want you to do is to focus on safe medication use, especially because on this channel, we want to make sure that you do better, especially with your heart. We don't want any heart attacks. We don't want any hypertension to, get out of hand and cause stroke. So when it comes to taking medications, I am all for it. Take your medicine. Don't stop taking your medications. Please don't take this as what the message I'm trying to point across. Yes, my grandmother passed away from complications of hypertension due to excessive use of an NSAID, a drug that actually caused her blood pressure to be worse when she was hypertensive. But if you're hypertensive and you need such a medication for pain relief, it is okay. The key is the duration, how long you take it for. I've seen people taking 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, for pain, which is okay, and they have hypertension. But how long, though, are you taking it for? Are you just taking it every day because you have pain? And if you are, is your doctor also making sure that your blood pressure medication is adjusted to ensure that your pressure doesn't go up? And that is where my issue is. So safe medication use is what we're trying to say, just so that you protect your heart and your brain from heart attacks and stroke, while you also treat your pain. So if you have to take these NSAIDs especially for rheumatoid arthritis, sometimes it's not easy to get off these NSAIDs. But if that's the case, then you have to have a comprehensive approach. Your doctor and your pharmacist must work with you to ensure that your blood pressure medication is also safely adjusted to ensure that your blood pressure is not creeping up and leading you to a worse outcome like my grandmother's. Don't be the African kid who doesn't ask questions. So ask questions. Ask your doctor, ask your pharmacist. And if you're a caregiver, do the same, so that you don't unknowingly participate in your own demise or those of your loved ones or the people you are taking care of. Because trust me, medicines are safe if used safely. Don't take things in your own hands, self-diagnose, and just be buying stuff just because somebody said anecdotally that it helped them. Anyway, before I end, I want you to think about this. Tell us on the channel, put in the comment section what you would have done in my situation. Young grandkid, grandson, loved, obedient. And what you would do different about your medications now. And you're going to review and ask your pharmacist and your doctor and your nurse about how long you should be taking those medications. And if you are going to take them for a long time, what to do about them so that they will be safe. For example, taking them with food to prevent ulcers, or making sure that you only take them as needed. The fact that it's for pain doesn't mean you have pain 24/7. Maybe in a day you may need once. Even though the prescription says take 3 times a day as needed, you don't take it all the 3 times because it says take 3 times a day. Maybe you only have the pain and stiffness in the evenings or in the nights. So that would be cutting back. Of course, if it's a blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, those you have to keep taking until your levels change and you have to be stopped. But I'm talking here about pain medications and NSAIDs for that matter, which sometimes raise our blood pressures. So tell me, comment section, what you are going to do different. What are some of the supplements you're taking? What are some of the over-the-counter drugs you're taking that your doctor doesn't know? And what they may have contributed if you knew. If you know what you're taking, do you know how they affect your blood pressure? And what are you doing about it? I'm itchy to know what you have to say at this point. So tell us if you're taking care of somebody who is needing medications all the time, how are you going to help them from going forward? And if it's in your own case, you yourself, you are self-medicating or taking certain things, what are some of the things you're going to do different? I'm interested to see your answers. Aside that, I'll say thank you for watching. Thank you for your attention. God bless.